Hey guys, so this is Dust Mephisto, and as many of you probably already know, I've collected 100% of all plate in the game, which can go ahead and be seen here. We've managed to actually collect 100% of all plate in the game. We accomplished this back in July. Recently, you may have seen I've also collected 100% for all one-handed swords. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is I often get asked, how do you get into collecting? One of the problems that people face is that they'll go ahead and download all the things and they'll want to collect because Creve, the maker of ATT, is a madman. This dude, like, he really wants to collect everything. A lot of people in the ATT Discord and kind of who do collect do want that, but as a casual observer, if you want to accomplish things, I do not recommend doing this. As you can see, there are over 25,000 items just if I'm looking to collect for transmog only. Transmog only here for what a warrior can use. Obviously, I can't transmog fishing poles, but for everything you see listed here, to be able to actually acquire that item, it requires a lot of work. So instead, one of the things that I recommend doing is actually break it down, right? Target the items you want. So if you happen to be after Azerite essences, if you're after followers and companions from, your garrison, or if you're targeting heirlooms, recipes, quests, break it down into something that you can approach. When you do, you can go ahead and see here that the overall items remaining, right? I only need 19 items to go ahead and reach 98%, whereas before you can go ahead and see that it would take 193 things for less than a 1% upgrade. It is absolutely nuts. So break it down, keep it simple, have a focus. The next goal that I'm going to accomplish actually is going to be axes. So I'm very close. All the axes that I have left, there's about 19 axes left in the game for me here. Most of them coming from Battle for Azeroth. 8 of them actually being from Nyalotha. One of the things I highly recommend also doing is paying attention to things like this. So this is a shared model. So these shared models actually count as like +2s, +3s, depending on how they're used. They're present all throughout ATT, etc., etc. So that's going to be step one, is just pick a plan, go towards something, and keep it simple. It worked. It absolutely worked for going for things like this. It really helped to go and break it down, to go ahead and see where everything is. Obviously, you could go ahead and use your collections for the appearance sections. You can go ahead and see I've filtered out collected versus not collected because it's just easier. These are cosmetic, however, some things actually don't exist in the game. This is a bugged quest item that isn't present in the game. It's an old kind of set that was originally planned with not thousand needles, with Miss Pandaria. So you can go ahead and see this home 1000. There we go. You can go ahead and see that a lot of these things tend to overlap. This item is no longer in the game. These items aren't in the game, but you can go ahead and see that the transmog set is approximately similar. It was removed for instead. Is this one heavy engineering? No, this one is. See, I want to actually do the leg plates. If we do engineering, I gotta go ahead and enable collected, and you go ahead and see that this Sunwalker leg guards, this is the transmog set that actually comes up. So again, I find ATT is a way better tool to use rather than your appearance tab, because your appearance tab is still going to have issues with items that no longer exist in the game. Even though a lot of this stuff has been reported as bugs, unfortunately, this is a less than perfect world, and Blizzard is incredibly overworked. So yeah, just as an FYI, one of the things that I recommend is to go ahead and just rely on ATT. The second biggest thing that you can do to go ahead and enhance your overall experience with transmog collecting is to actually have a second account. Now, you don't need a second account, but what makes having a second account useful is it saves a lot of time. It's an extra $15 a month, but if you're doing a lot of transmog running, if you have extra gold, it's worth investing. And the reason why it's worth investing is specifically because you can share raid lockouts, right? So you go ahead and you'll have Siege of Orgrimmar. So there was an item that I specifically needed from Cormcron Dark Shaman. Now, we're jumping the gun a wee bit, but I'm going to just go ahead and illustrate the importance of lockout sharing. One of the reasons why plate was very doable for me was, well, as you can see, I have a lot of warriors. I currently have around 50 max level warriors, and as a result of that, I was able to go ahead and tackle and repeat a lot of these things. So in that repetition, again, as you can see with the raid info here, I'm able to go ahead and extend certain lockouts. Now, this is probably something that deserves a bit of its own video. This can be used for Invincible. This could be used for Tusk of Manaroth. This can be used for Memoron's Head. It can be used for pretty much a lot of bosses. It can be used for Ragnaros. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with Deathwing. It doesn't work with the Throne of Thunder, Heart of Fear, Elegon. Right, so there's very specific ones that it works with, but as you can go ahead and see here, we have lockouts. One of the things that we constantly do in my community is we do Gmod runs, right? So we do Gmod runs to go ahead and go for this mount right here. We have a lockout right at Mechatork that makes this possible, so that we can go ahead and just run or just spawn right at Mechatork, kill him, bring in the next character. And again, as you see with all these characters here, it's very, very doable to approach this. So it's one of the things that I highly recommend. Now, obviously, you can go ahead and make a pre-made find group, and you can sign up to it, and then you can sign out. But ultimately, I think it's honestly worth the extra hassle. Again, if you're say you're going for Tusk of Manaroth have, you know, it's like it's basically like a mount, so it'll take around 130 to 150 attempts to usually get. That's changed recently, by the way. A lot of people have like 500, 600, 700 attempts. That was prior. That's when you had personal loot. Now that personal loot's no longer existing, there's like a 1 in 6 chance for each of those items to now roll Tusk of Manaroth, whereas before it just, was it Tusk, was it not Tusk? Or it was more like, does an item spawn? Okay, does the item have Tusk? So you have that times like 6 now, which increases your odds significantly. So again, you can go ahead and do this. There's an easy way to go ahead and access Garrosh. I'll probably make another video about that later. If you don't have that, or if you want to see that, I'm sure there's other videos that actually discuss this specifically currently. But yeah, this can go ahead and be used for everything. It can be used for certain bosses. I don't know if I have a good example. Obviously, Onyxia is a terrible example. But you can lock yourself out even in... This is actually one of the ways that I tackled. Let's see, what are we looking at here? Shoulders. I'm on a paladin. Obviously, I collected 100% of all plate on warrior. Pauldrons of Zakul. So I created a lockout at Zakul, and then I ran it with each of my warriors. So I used the second account to host the to host the raid. Obviously, one of the good things, I mean, obviously we're near the end of the expansion now, but one of the good things is a lot of mages might want the font, the Essence font. So you'll have a lot of people signing up. You'll tend to have a lot of interest in actually killing Azara. So getting a group for Zakul, etc. makes it a lot easier. Now, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, this is also really important. Having characters for lockouts. Now, the good news is leveling is super fast in the pre-patch. I also have even better news. If you happen to not know, I am, as Belial put it, the king of leveling. I've been referred to as the fastest leveler in Azeroth. I've been referred to as a professional speed leveler by Zoltan. I know my shit. And I'm going to go ahead and be putting out some min-maxing guides to go ahead and take advantage of during in the pre-patch. Hopefully, I'm still kind of new to actually doing more organized YouTube content. This is something I'm not really super familiar with. I'm trying kind of playing around and toying with aspects. But hopefully I can get past this and we can all prosper with the knowledge that I have. So make as many characters as possible right? If you have nothing to do, if you want to start trying to collect more, it helps to have these because each character is a week, right? So if you have 50 warriors, you have 50 weeks that you can do in 1 week. I mean, now it depends. I don't normally like to do that with all of my warriors. As you'll see, a lot of them are in Northern Stranglehorn. That's specifically because I'm targeting 3 mounts. There's the mythic Karazhan mount, the normal Karazhan mount, and then the Zul'Gurub heroic raptor, right? So there's 3 mounts in this little area, so I have warriors parked specifically out there. This can also help cut down on your overall time. Now, in the pre-patch, it's going to take about 10 hours to reach level 50. So I'm currently working on, if you haven't used it, Azeroth Autopilot. So Azeroth Autopilot is a add-on that goes ahead and uses the routes that I've developed. These routes go ahead and allow for to level quickly. Sorry. So they allow you to go ahead and level quickly and faster the content and tell you exactly where you need to go, what you need to do. In the pre-patch, Warlords of Draenor, even with the recent nerf, still going to be about the fastest. It should take me approximately 6 hours myself to go ahead and do it. I think your average user is going to take around 10 to 11 hours, especially if you're using Azeroth Autopilot. Bellular, Mr. GM, people who have used the add-on that have used my routes, they're leveling around 7 to 8 prior to the nerf, which was only about 2 hours slower than my fastest time. So it's definitely very doable, and it's one of the things that I highly recommend. This is also great for mount farming. I've gotten Invincible, I've gotten Mimiron's Head, I've gotten Rivendare's Charger. I've gotten a lot of these mounts. In fact, you can go ahead and see my feats of strength mounts right here. We've gotten a lot of these mounts during this content. You can see that they're all kind of back to back almost, right? It's a real easy way to go ahead and tackle a lot of the issues that you face in World of Warcraft with content like this. Now, the other thing that you're going to face is getting transmog, specifically off the auction house. Now, the auction house is going to be a bit of a challenge. Things can be very expensive if you don't have a lot of gold, if you don't have a lot of ways. One of the things that I highly recommend doing, especially because leveling is going to be so fast in Shadowlands, like literally it's 66% faster than it is now. My fastest time is 11 hours and 36 minutes. Well, okay, it's, with the nerf to WoD, it's not going to be, but my fastest time now is 11 hours and 36 minutes. My fastest time in Shadowlands will probably be about 7 hours. So it saves me about 4.5 hours. For you guys, that should still be about, I want to say like you guys will be saving about 10 hours on leveling, approximately, if you're an average leveler. So that's going to be absolutely amazing. But one of the things that I recommend is using that to your advantage and leveling up on a high population realm. So if you're an Alliance player, I highly recommend Stormrage. If you're Horde, obviously you're going to go ahead and be looking at, let's see, where is it? Illidan. So Garrus is Alliance. And then Zul'jin is a really good one for Horde. Leveling up in these areas are going to give you access to a lot of transmogs that you wouldn't normally be able to have. So that's going to go ahead and make things cheaper. I've found stuff on Stormrage for literally like 70% cheaper than on my main realm of Spirestone. So I've been on Spirestone since 2005, whenever it launched. It was easier to get gold on Stormrage and buy the transmog from Stormrage than it was to actually buy it from our realm here on Spirestone. Everything's just infinitely cheaper. So again, just to go ahead and kind of cover about what we talked, set a goal, right? Choose how you want to handle something. So choose specifically like, hey, okay, I want to collect every one-handed weapon in the game. Okay, what's that looking like? Is there a one that I'm actually getting close to? Okay, am I close to getting You know, for an example, am I close to getting axes, right? So if I'm close to getting axes, I'm going to go ahead and start targeting axes. So that way we go ahead and know it's like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I need to do Mist of Pandaria. I need to focus Siege of Orgrimmar. And I need to focus. This uses and utilizes all of that time. Next, go ahead and make sure that, like, again, if you can, lockout share. Lockout sharing saves so much time. Transmog collecting is a lot of fun, but when you spend a lot of time just redoing stuff again and again and again, it's exhausting. It's boring, right? You don't get that thrill, that sound, that exciting sound that comes out. It is incredible. So I highly recommend that you go ahead, just invest $15 for the extra lockout. If not, you can go ahead and share the lockout between your characters via the pre-made custom group. It's just a lot more exhausting. And again, if you can't do that, you're not screwed. You're just going to be investing a lot more time into it, which can be very, again, exhausting. So yeah, I do try to offer out my lockouts whenever I can to help people out with stuff like this. If you happen to be a part of our Twitch community, I often do stuff as mentioned. We do we do Gmod runs. Obviously, I went ahead and I've created a lockout specifically for, there it is, Nighthold. Sorry. I created a lockout specifically for the Nighthold to go ahead and focus on sorry, give me a second here. To focus specifically on Gul'dan and the Living Infernal. So doing this on normal gets you a chance at this mount as well. So I share these lockouts quite often in our community to try and help people out. If this is something that you need, consider hanging out with us. Many of us are autistic. Many of us have disabilities. It's a very safe and encouraging and happy place, or at least I've tried very hard to make it like that. We've currently put in for partner as well. I'm most likely to be one of the very first autistic partners through Warcraft. So I'll be one of the very first Warcraft autistic partners, which is going to be fucking incredible. I am super excited about that. So anyways, that's pretty much it. Again, remember, level characters, focus, have a goal, have something that you can go ahead and obtain. If you can't afford to get yourself a lockout account, an account that you can go ahead and use to share lockouts, I highly recommend it. And yeah, if you have any questions, if there's something that this video didn't cover, is there something that you'd like to know about this video to kind of target or approach things a little bit better, please let me know. I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions. Again, this is my first time putting out a video like this. If there's something that I can really do to kind of make this better, me personally, I handle through like written guides a lot better. I enjoy having like a skip and kind of just things to jump to. I know others kind of prefer video. So if this is something that you like, please let me know. I'm thinking of a couple of their YouTube videos. I'm looking at a video talking about charity. I've raised over $20,000 since April for charity. I do an annual charity event for Warriors for Autism. I do a lot of this with charity, and I know I have a lot of people coming to me. It's like, how do I do a charity event? You know, what do I need to do? How do I reach out to companies? How can I build this up? So I'm looking at doing a video for that. I'm looking, again, as mentioned previously in the video, I'm looking at doing a min-max video as well. So that min-max video is going to be focused on all the things that kind of happen with that, right? So we're talking, heirlooms, we're talking enchants, we're talking consumables, we're talking about all the little pieces, especially with Shadowlands and the pre-patch, relics of the past, socketed gear, gems. All of these things are going to play a massive role in the overall ability of your character and how fast you can level. So I'm looking forward to that. If you guys have any questions, please go ahead and feel free to ask. And yeah, thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful.